Now, as I told you at the beginning of the conference, we started as an internet conference. Today we are a growth conference with our 10 verticals. My friend Luigi, please come on stage, who has been working, or I think you were like a senior partner or running even Temasek Europe. I don't know the titles how it was, but very senior at Temasek, called me a few months ago and he says, Marco, I'm changing jobs. I'm going to a fund called Catterton. And to my shame, I have to admit, I didn't even hear the name before. And then while we were speaking on the phone, I was Googling and I said, wow, this is a really big company. And even more interesting, it's exactly our NOAH kind of expansion category, which is consumer goods, because I believe distribution became, with the internet, a commodity, and it's all about the products again. Now, Luigi, talk a little bit about Catterton. It's a private equity company, but it's a special one, right?
It's a special private equity company in the sense, first, thank you for the introduction. So it's a special private equity company in the sense that it's the largest one globally that is entirely focused on consumer.
How big are the assets under management?
15 billion. 15 billion assets under management. So it's relatively sizable.
Was it 15 or 50?
1.5.
1.5 was. And it's for just one, it's for one vertical.
Yes,
consumer goods.
Consumer
goods.
goods.
When I scrolled the website, the portfolio you have, there are like household names we know from the offline world, but there are also lots of online names. So you're like a hybrid consumer goods investor, which gives you the best of both worlds. And since Amazon and Co. are opening stores, it comes quite handy to know both.
I think the fact that we are focused on one single vertical makes us first port of call for entrepreneur and company that want to partner with a brand builder as opposed to some finance guy that just wants to make a quick exit. And also investors like the consumer focus for a couple of reasons. First, because the consumer segment has outperformed the average stock market by about 1,500 basis points in the last decade. So it's quite material. And second, they like it because by being focused on consumer, we can actually help the business that we acquire to leverage their potential, so to accelerate their growth, and that's what we do actually.
So you're not just bringing capital, there's also advice and help and
that's actually the main thing is the help that we provide. So I think that's what probably set us aside. And the other point is because we are global, we can help company expand their business from, if it's a US company wants to expand in Europe and Asia or the other way around, that's where we can play to our strength. The other thing I would like to mention is we have a strong partnership with Lvmh, the large luxury holding, because Mr. Arnaud, the founder of Lvmh, is a major shareholder in our company. And this gives us access. So we operate independently, but this partnership gives us access to Lvmh, which can be
due diligence experts.
Due diligence experts in many different sectors. So obviously, it's another advantage that we can put at play.
And what is like the minimum and maximum investment you do as a fund? I mean, what type of NOAH attendees should think to turn to you?
Most NOAH attendees, I hope, will think about us. But in terms of size, because we have 7 funds at global level of different size, we can operate with a rather broad range of investments. So from 25 million on the low end up to 500 million.
And segments, I guess everything which has anything to do with consumers.
As I said, everything that is within consumers, but there are certain segments that we like more because first, our segments are growing faster even within the consumer industry. Second, because these are segments where we've built already an ecosystem. So we have companies in our portfolio that can help each other out, that we can expand the knowledge.
Can you name a few segments which are?
Sure, I can. So health and beauty care.
We have this, we had in London this medical device.
Yeah.
You blow into it, and it tells you what you ate, like how much fat, and it
I'm not sure I want to use that.
It shows your metabolism.
Okay.
And it's an Israel-based company, very techy, but they have no clue about consumer good distribution. So they would be a perfect.
I think that's what we like, in a conference like NOAH. We love consumer tech, and I think we can add exactly that knowledge, intimate knowledge of consumer, of distribution that can help actually grow the business. So. And in terms of the other sector, luxury and fashion for obvious reason, the link with Lvmh. Then personal and beauty care is another strong segment for us. Pet care, and as I said, consumer tech.
So it's quite a lot. So all the new IoT products, although there are not so many. I've said IoT, I expected a little bit more companies coming. With things was one, and then Colibri, actually quite a few French.
Quite a few French, but we are looking to expand into this area. So.
Okay, let's talk about the market a little bit. So when you are a hot consumer company, Catterton should be your call. Social or digital has changed a lot. It's today a lot more complicated to reach the consumer because everyone gets bombarded with emails also from NOAH. It's harder to get to the consumer. What has changed for the global marketers?
Sure. So it is, in a way, it's more difficult to reach consumer. In a way, it's easier. So if I'm an entrepreneur and I want to launch a new small brand, first, I have direct access to consumers, right? Second, contrary to a couple of decades ago, you don't need the budget or equivalent of the small GDP of the GDP of a small country to actually launch a product globally. So you can do it leveraging social. And I think the other important aspect that makes it easier to launch a small brand is that you are not hostage to the retailer, as it was the case in the past. In the past, if the retailer didn't list you, you would be nowhere.
That was the rise of the DTC, direct-to-consumer.
Correct. And I think what the digital revolution has generated is a bit of a revolution in the consumer industry. So if you go back in time, I think at the beginning, the manufacturer held the power of what will be seen by consumers. So the Procter & Gamble, the L'Oreal, the Nestlé of this world, they were working on innovation, coming up with product, and this product will be mass-marketed. Then later on, when the retailer became big and powerful, like Walmart, Auchan, all the Coop, all the big retailer, the power shifted to them. So they were deciding what goes in front of consumers, right? And with the digital revolution, the power has shifted again to consumers because they actually now can decide what they want to see. If you look at Walmart, with the huge assortment they have, has about 5% of what you find on Amazon. So in terms of choice, in terms of convenience for consumers, this has been definitely a revolution.
It's a huge problem. There's too much choice for consumers, right?
It is too much choice, and in fact, some of the DTC brands are actually thriving because they limit the choice for consumer. So you look at Casper, the mattress maker, right? One mattress. That's all they make. And they realize that it's good for 80% of the people, right? And before, buying a mattress was a bit of a cumbersome exercise, right? So you have different...
it's completely confusing.
Completely confusing. So you can also leverage simplicity because consumers are looking for it. You look at Harris. I was lucky enough to invest in Harris some time ago, and we sold it in May for...
They presented actually at NOAH last year.
Yes. That is an amazing company. And so they started in direct-to-consumer, purely online, and then they realized, and I was in the board, so I was, part of this. I was part of this conversation. They realized that by playing in DTC only, they were limiting their ability to reach consumer, because as fast as the online business is growing, the vast majority of consumers still shop in physical retail stores. And if you look
even if they don't shop, it gives you credibility.
Absolutely. But it is also a matter of scalability. If you look, even today, in US, it's 14% that is sold online of total consumer retail sale. China is ahead of the game. It's about 1/3 of the market is already online. So it's pretty impressive, 2019 figure. So it is growing. But the bulk of the market is still in physical retailers. So Harris scaled up when they launched in Walmart, when they launched in Target, and the benefit of a DTC brand is that when you go to a retailer, after you have established your brand, you have the upper end in negotiation. So they went to Target, the large distributor in the US, and said, look, we have this beautiful brand, beautiful concept, beautiful design. give us the right shelf space, give us the right attention to our brand, and they did, and it was very successful for
Gillette
both
didn't
Harris.
have a non-compete?
No. I left Procter & Gamble long ago, so not for Target, you mean?
Not for you, for Target.
For Target, no, absolutely. I think that would be also antitrust.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, huh? Gillette, I mean...
Yeah, and actually Target, in 6 months, Harris reached 35% market share, which is...
35% market share. And I don't think they have had a huge advertising budget, no?
No, actually very limited. Very limited.
So could you argue... Excuse me? Oh, okay. Could you argue that it was product, or is it brand, or perception, or was it price?
There you go. I think it's a combination of design, brand, product, and price, which leads me to the point that DTC by itself is not a business strategy. DTC is a way to reach consumer. But if you are to be successful, you need to have a strong brand, product that meets consumer needs, an experience that delights consumers. So you need to have all these old school key criteria to delight consumer. Otherwise, DTC will not do anything to you.
Right. You know, entrepreneurs or technical-driven people, they struggle with building brands because it seems to be very expensive. And there was this famous say of, I guess it was Mr. Ogilvy, who said, I know that half of my advertising is spent for nothing.
I wish I knew which half.
I don't know which half. We're scared of advertising.
Yeah.
How do you build brands today when you have limited funds in the digital world?
Okay, so first, the digital world gives you a lot of opportunities to build a brand without having a sizable budget, right? So again, look at the example of Harris. When they launched their DTC, they did this promotion that if you, after you subscribe, if you invite 5 friends, you get the product for free. And they were the scale, and if you invite 50 friends, you get the 1 year worth of shades and
multi-level marketing strategy.
Multi-level marketing, like old school, but actually it worked. You had like a few thousand people that introduced 50 friends to the brand. So all of a sudden you had scaled up without breaking the bank. And I think this is what the digital and social media are allowing you to do, to establish your brand, again, from a position of strength. You need to have the right product, you need to have the right price, and the price is what consumer perceives as the right price. So Harris had a good product, and significantly below the price of a comparable Gillette.
Like 30% below? Gillette is very complicated.
Gillette is very complicated. They have different layers, but...
You know what it is? It's a confusion strategy.
Confusion strategy, yeah. That's not how they will call it probably, but from a consumer standpoint, it could look like this. And it was undercut by about 40%. 40%? I would say, yeah, for the comparable product.
So the large number of rising brands, often founded by young entrepreneurs, the digital natives, or whatever you want to call it, they're eating into the market share of the big consumer brand conglomerates. We haven't seen, maybe with the exception of the razor market, Dollar Shave Club was bought, but there hasn't been, at least out of my perspective, too much M&A yet. The big groups are still protecting their old brands. Do you see that this will change?
I think the issue with the big group is once they are protecting their traditional way of doing business. Second, we've seen it over and over again that big company acquire small brand and then they integrate and they perfectly lose all the reason why they bought them in the first place.
They did get better in it. If you look now at the NOAH, we put a lot of champions with the challengers together. When I asked them, how is it going? I mean, I think I haven't heard a bad story for a long, long time. I guess they leave them alone.
Sure, you probably hear more the positive story here. But the big company have a lot of resources to counteract this trend. Okay, first and foremost, the R&D budget. Okay, so the most important thing in consumer is product innovation. Okay, everything else is important, but you start from having a great product or a service that delights consumer. Now, a company like Procter & Gamble has $2 billion a year to spend on R&D. $2 billion. Okay, Unilever 1.1 billion, L'Oreal 900 million, so they have huge budgets. So if with this budget they manage to create innovative product that delight consumer, they can keep growing market share. And if you look at the company like Procter & Gamble, a DTC brand that reached $1 billion valuation is an incredible success, right?
Yes.
And Procter & Gamble today is 280 billion valuation, and as it's still growing.
And they still can't get rid of the plastic bottles.
And they still can get rid of the plastic bottle and the outer packaging of the toothpaste, which is totally useless and it's a waste. So if there are things that can be done for the environment
to everyone.
Exactly.
Let's talk about problems for the big guys. Amazon is known to have a marketplace model and, of course, their own trading business, and now they go into, I think, Amazon Basics, it's called. Alibaba, when you search for big brands in Europe, you immediately find the cheap copycat on Alibaba. Sure. It seems to be that there are a lot of piracy on Amazon. There's a lot of piracy on Alibaba.
Everywhere.
Is this going to increase? Is it going to get worse, or what is?
Marco, you're saying two things for me. So one is piracy, one is competition from low cost. Okay? And there are two different problems that needs to be solved in different ways. So the competition from piracy, it's obviously there is a lot of technology to deter.
There must be crawlers who can crawl the net. And
There are many things that company can do today that weren't available in the past, and they are good to even in more expensive item, you have the RFID tag. And now it's cheap enough to be broadly distributed. So that's the main deterrent for counterfeit. Different is the issue with the low price competitor. And the only way big brands, big company can protect their turf is, as I said before, innovation and brand building. So if I have a brand that consumer trust, that consumer are willing to pay more, that's where I can win in the market. And the price power of the brand is never to be underestimated. So when I look at investment plan, I look at the ability of the business to sustain their pricing over time. So look at same product with different brand name, can have very different pricing, and consumers are happy to pay for it. I give you one example. The Havaianas, the flip-flop that everybody uses, they cost about $18.
18.
Right? Yeah, 1.8. There is a model of Havaianas, which is exactly like the others, except the design, the drawing, so it costs exactly the same, but it's made by Valentino. And it costs $320, same product. But it's branded and consumers are happy to pay for that brand.
We call them fashion victims.
Call it, but there are many of them. But just to underline the importance, I'm not buying into that as a strategy, but it's just to underline the importance of branding. So if you want to compete with cheaper alternative, you need to build a brand that consumers are happy to pay higher price for. So this is the name of the game.
Do you see, you have been investor in Farfetch, which obviously went public as a huge success. We had Jose also on stage here last year in Berlin. Are there going to be global platforms? Of course they are at the moment, but like discovery platforms where young brands from all over the world could come, because it's very hard to get visibility. There seems to be no place yet where you find like a curated shopping experience, something which fits to you. Amazon worked on an AI for ages.
And I'm not surprised you say that, because this is the main criteria that we look at when we look at consumer tech. If you need to have something specific that you add to the equation, we love things that are curated for the consumer. We know things that make predetermined choice that consumer can enjoy later. And if you're just in the business of what we call moving barcodes, right? You're moving products that have a barcode. Amazon and Alibaba are doing it 10 times better than you, so don't even bother coming.
Yeah, but especially on the social side.
So you need to be, to add the dimension to it. You need a reason for being in the market, so provide consumer with something unique.
Do you invest globally, or are there certain regions where you're more interested in?
We invest globally, and actually that's a strength of the firm. Because we can invest on the same business with funds from different regions, which means everybody has a stake in it and everybody's happy to provide support in all different regions. And we do this anyway because we obviously operate as one single firm, and which means that we can accelerate the business expansion at global level. So you have a business that comes from Europe, and we know how to distribute it in the US. We know who we should partner with. Similarly to Asia, where we have many different.
And as a fund, you say you bring more than capital. There's a lot of advice and value add.
Yeah.
Do you have people in your own team, on their own balance sheet, employed, who are helping with brand building, advertising?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
When I went to Silicon Valley, I don't go for a long time, but like last time, 3-4 years ago, the funds always taught me the ratio of non-investment professionals who support the portfolio versus the hunters who are looking for new deals.
That is absolutely true. So we have a sizable group of people whose scope is to provide consultancy to the business.
Get the McKinsey quality consulting.
We actually have also McKinsey, but we have also our internal resources that do that. But also, importantly, what you call the hunters, which is people that go out there and get deals, we don't have this figure of just hunters. So you do need to hunt, you need to get to find the right deal, but you're also responsible to actually make that business grow in line with the investment thesis. Right, so
with the help of the non-hunters.
Absolutely, with the precious help.
Maybe you have to hunt them to do exactly. Luigi, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here.
For your new job, and
thank you.
Let's do some consumer deals.
Thanks.